Hello, sir.
Hello. Okay. Do you have some questions? Anything you want to ask? Any doubts?
No, sir. I have chemistry exam. That's why I couldn't solve any problems.
Okay. When is it?
My chemistry exams on Tuesday.
Okay. This is school exams.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. And maths exam is over.
Yeah, so we have weekly tests. So our
Hmm.
math weekly test is over.
And right now they are still doing complex numbers and straight lines.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Okay. So last class, what we were seeing was we saw some things in last class. We saw complex numbers, addition, multiplication, uh, pro- uh, division, subtraction, all the operations, right?
Yes, sir.
We also saw two different forms of the complex number. One is the normal form z is equal to x plus iy, and the other is z is equal to e power r into e power I theta, right?
Yes, sir.
Which is also r into cos theta plus I sine theta.
Yes, sir.
And this is the polar form or Euler form. So, and we saw how this makes multiplication seem intuitive because multiplication is just basically rotation plus scaling,
Yeah, yes, sir.
right? Rotation because the angle is changing and the vector is going from some place to another place, right?
Yeah,
Theta 1 and final angle will be theta 1 plus theta 2.
yeah,
And stretching because it could be final length could be more or less, right? R1 into R2,
yeah.
right? So we saw these two things. Now in this class, what we'll do is we'll look at some terms that are associated with complex numbers, some terms that are associated like modulus, argument, and once we have done these modulus and argument and all, then what we will look at is uh, basically geometry with complex numbers. Geometry with complex numbers. And lastly, we'll look at nth roots of unity, nth roots of 1, basically roots of unity. So hopefully by the end of this class, you will have all the stuff that you need for solving complex number questions in your book and whatever competition level. This is what is required. Okay.
So,
So, uh, so let's just begin with modulus. So what is the modulus of a complex number? Modulus is basically mod z, right?
yeah,
Mod z is basically if you thought of complex number as a vector, then mod z is obviously the length of the vector, right?
yeah,
So now if you think about it, uh, if you have a plane xy plane and this point is x comma y, and this this is my x plus iy, this vector is x plus iy, right?
yeah, sir.
So this is my complex number OP, which is a vector. So the length is, by Pythagoras theorem, it is obvious that mod z will be root over x square plus y square, because this part was the real part and this part was the imaginary part, right?
Yeah,
So it will be root over x square plus y square. That is my mod z, correct?
yeah, sir.
So now what you can say is that this mod will always be positive. First of all, always positive, because length becoming negative doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So this length is always positive, and you also have a set of inequalities called the triangle inequalities for the length, which are straightforward. So which is, say, z1 plus z2 will always be less than or equal to mod z1 plus mod z2. This should make sense to you because z1 plus z2, right? It is basically uh, x1 plus iy1 plus x2 plus iy2, right?
Yes.
And the addition will become x1 plus x2 plus I y1 plus y2, right? And mod of that will be basically root over x1 plus x2 whole square plus y1 plus y2 whole square, right? Now you can see why it should be less than root over x1 square plus y1 square plus root over x2 square plus y2 square. Why is that so? Because what can happen is they could have opposite sign to each other, right?
Yeah.
X1 and x2 could be 5 and minus 3, and when you do x1 plus x2 it reduces, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So 2 square plus something square is less than root 5 square plus root 2 square plus something, right?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
So obviously, like here, because the real part and imaginary point could have negative signs also, then the value could become lesser, right? And when you take the root, it will become a lesser magnitude. On the other hand, this part, no matter whether it is negative or positive, the length of that vector will still be the same. No? We are adding two positive quantities here, while you could have subtracted also here inside, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, so what this tells you, if you think of it vectorially in a figure, suppose this is my z1, right? Z1 vector, and suppose this is my z2 vector, right? Correct.
Yeah.
What is my z1 plus z2 vector? So to add these two vectors, I will lift up this and put it here, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Without changing the length and the direction, if I can pick up a vector and place it here, then I will be able to arrange it head to tail, right?
Yeah.
So then it makes sense. Then this is the triangle inequality. This is z1 plus z2, right? Correct.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
So mod of z1 plus z2 will be the length of this vector, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So in this triangle, if you notice, in this triangle, one side is mod z1, one side is mod z2, and this side is mod z1 plus z2, right?
Yes, sir.
So you cannot form a triangle if the sum of two sides is greater than if the sum of two sides is less than the third side.
Yeah.
The other two sides of a triangle, any two sides of a triangle have to be greater than or equal to the third side. Otherwise, you cannot make a triangle.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Like you can verify it yourself with some actual triangles.
Yeah.
If one side is too long, no, then it will not be, you'll not be able to fit it.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So this is triangle inequality. This is very useful sometimes. So you should understand why it happens and what is the meaning of this. Then the other one is z1 minus z2, right? Will be greater than equal to mod z1 minus mod z2, right?
Yeah.
So that also makes sense because z1 minus z2 would be something, but it could actually get added also, no? So some terms could have been added. So suppose I take z1 as 2 plus 3i and z2 as minus 1 plus I, right? So z1 minus z2 is actually 3 plus 2i, right?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
z1 minus z2 is that, and mod of that is root 13, whereas this mod is root 13 minus, and this is a positive thing that is subtracted, minus root 2, right?
Yeah.
You understand what is happening here? You are subtracting positive things, no?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And here it could internally get added and then a higher complex numbers mod you are taking, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So you could understand it again pictorially. Let's try to do that using vectors. So suppose you have like this. If you have z1 and suppose you have z2, right? Correct. So what is Z1 minus Z2? So it is this side. Why? Because look at these two vectors, this one and this one, right? You start from here, go to here, and then from there to there. That should be equal to Z1, no?
Yeah, yeah,
So that makes Z2 plus something should be equal to Z1.
yeah,
If you wanted to figure out that side, Z2 plus X should be equal to Z1. So X must be equal to, right?
yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah,
So now this inequality is actually saying that the third side's length must be greater than equal to the difference between the other two sides. Right?
yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
So any side length, it cannot be that this difference between this and this is bigger than the third side. Then the triangle cannot be formed.
yeah,
The first triangle inequality was saying this value is less than equal to Z1 plus Z2. So this was saying third side's
yeah,
length
yes,
must be less than sum of the other two sides,
yes, sir.
right? So that's why these are together called the triangle inequalities. These two, okay? This one and this one, okay? So this is the meaning of modulus. Now, if you look at some properties of the modulus, you have mod of z1 z2 will be equal to mod z1 into mod z2. Now this property can be easily understood if you think of z1 in the polar form. Correct?
Yeah,
So what is z1 z2? Z1 z2 will be equal to r1 r2 e power I theta 1 plus theta 2. So mod of z1 z2 will be mod of r1 r2 e power I theta 1 plus theta 2, right? Now this is a complex number with e power I theta 1 is the angle part that is specifying the angle at which it is, and obviously length is r1 r2, no?
yeah,
So mod of that complex number should be r1 r2, which is equal to mod z1 mod z2, right? Notice that e power I theta, no matter what the theta, is equal to cos theta plus I sin theta, right? And if this was my complex number, if I take mod of e power I theta, it will always be 1,
yeah, yes, sir.
right? So so this e power I, whatever is the angle, it's going to be 1 here. So what is left is mod r1 r2, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So this is a nice property. Then we have some properties like mod of z power n is equal to mod of z to the power n. Again, obvious if you think of polar form. In polar form, z power n will be r power n e power I n theta. Are you understanding? If z is equal to r, if z is equal to r e I theta, when you raise it to the power n, what will happen? This, no?
Yeah, yeah,
R power n e power I n theta, right? So if you think of that now, notice that mod of z power n will be equal to mod of r power n e power I n theta, and e power I, any angle, mod is 1, so this is just equal to r power n, which is just equal to mod of z power n, right?
yeah, yes,
Makes sense.
yeah,
So this is also an important property. Then obviously some other basic properties are like this. Multiplication is just like another form of division, so this is also true. Then we have already done triangle inequality. So these are the major properties of modulus. Okay, we have already done triangle inequality. So we have written like products of complex numbers, their modulus, quotients of complex numbers and their modulus, and powers of complex numbers and their modulus. And the triangle inequality tells us what to do when it is addition or subtraction of complex numbers, right? So all the operations we have done. So we have z1 plus z2 is less than equal to mod z1 plus mod z2. We have z1 minus z2 is greater than equal to mod z1 minus mod z2. We have mod of z1 z2 is equal to mod z1 mod z2. Mod of z power n is equal to mod of z bar n, and z1 by z2 is equal to mod z1 by mod z2. So these are the 5 results that we have seen. Correct? These are the 5 properties for modulus. Now what we will do is we will try to understand modulus from a geometric point of view. Find the meaning of modulus from a geometric point of view. Mod of z. So we already know what mod z is. We know that mod z is the length of the vector from O to z, right? Length of OP vector. Length of OP vector is mod z. But now remember, in a triangle we had done something like this: z1 z2, and this vector, right? This vector, the line segment joining z2 to z1, right, was known as z1 minus z2, no?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
Just now we had done that.
Yeah.
We had said that z2 plus unknown vector is equal to z1, so unknown vector must be equal to z1 minus z2, right?
Yeah.
So a line segment joining 2 points, right, z3 z4. Now this line segment will be written like z4 minus z3, right? Final point minus initial point.
Yeah.
If you think of vectors and vector displacements, that is how you take displacement, no?
Yeah.
Final
Yes.
point minus initial point, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So think of this z vector, right? Mod z can be thought of as mod z minus 0, no? Right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing literally.
Yeah.
But now it makes sense because see, final point, initial point, and this is final point. So mod z minus 0 is length of this vector, right?
Yeah.
This line segment itself is called z because final point minus initial point like vectors, and the length of that line segment is called mod z. Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Similarly, if I have something like this, z1 and z2, then length of the line segment joining them will obviously be mod of z1 minus z2, right? Because the vector itself can be thought of as, okay, this arrow is incorrect, arrow should be towards this, right?
Yes.
Final minus initial, right? So this already indicates that this line segment is called z1 minus z2, and the length of the line segment is mod of z1 minus z2, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now what you are able to represent is distances on the complex plane, distances on the complex plane using modulus. Basically, suppose somebody gave you a triangle, right? Point A, B, C. And let's say they said that the complex numbers for A and B and C were this, right?
Yeah.
Then immediately sides of the triangle are, if you think of AB side, you go from A to B, right?
Yeah.
So final point should be Z2
Yeah.
minus Z1, right?
Yeah.
Now AB complex number is the line segment joining A to B, right?
Yeah.
and the length of that line segment or side length is equal to mod of Z2 minus Z1, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Similarly, BC complex number is Z3 minus Z2, right? BC. And length of BC is mod of Z3 minus mod minus Z2, right?
Yes, sir.
And this length would be mod of Z1 minus mod of Z3, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this immediately gives us the conditions for many conditions you can get using these, right? What conditions? For example, if it is an equilateral triangle, each of these lengths must be same, right?
Yeah.
So you have Z2 minus Z1 mod should be equal to Z3 minus Z2 mod is equal to Z2 minus Z3 or Z3. Well, that I already wrote down.
Z1 minus.
Huh.
Yeah.
Z1 minus Z3. Correct?
Yeah.
So distances on the complex number using modulus we can find out, right? On the complex plane, right?
Yeah.
Now what we can also do is, I forgot to mention one very important property, which is mod z square is equal to z into z conjugate. Now, right now you don't know what is this z conjugate, so let's just introduce it. Conjugate z of z conjugate of a complex number z, right? So what is the meaning of conjugate? Conjugate is basically if z was x plus iy, right?
Yeah. So it's the mirror image.
It's the mirror image in the x-axis.
Yeah.
So this point z conjugate will be equal to x minus iy.
Yeah.
Z conjugate is x minus iy. So what happens is the complex number is reflected through the x-axis and the final position is called the conjugate. Okay.
Yeah.
So notice that z into z conjugate will be x plus iy multiplied by x minus iy, right? Which will be equal to x square minus I square y square, which is equal to x square plus y square, which is equal to mod z square, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Also, you could think of conjugate in a different way as well. Instead of x and iy, you can think of as r e I theta, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you take mirror image, instead of an anti-clockwise angle, you just have a clockwise angle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, the new complex number should be, you are not changing the length of it, so it should still be r e power minus I theta in this case, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because the angle is anti-clockwise, clockwise sense below the x-axis, then that angle is called negative angle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the fourth quadrantal.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you have conjugate z is equal to r e I theta, and z conjugate is equal to r e minus I theta, right? So z into z conjugate is clearly r square into e power 0, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are getting z into z conjugate is equal to mod z square, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Correct. Now, some couple of more things here. We have notice that this property is very important. Okay, it will be handy many places, so you should remember this. So for example, if I had to prove that the triangles were equilateral in that case, no, the previous case, z1 minus z2 was equal to z2 minus z3 is equal to z3 minus z1, right?
Yeah.
Right. So how will we simplify this condition to make sense? This is for an equilateral triangle, correct?
Yeah.
So how do we get to a different condition here? What you can do is square, take any two and square. One second.
Yeah. Yes.
So mod z1 minus z2 whole square is equal to z2 minus z3 whole square, right? Because this has to be true for equilateral triangle. This has to be true for equilateral triangle. So now this here we can use this property. So this will be equal to z1 minus z2 z1 conjugate minus z2 conjugate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. Because what I have done is I have used this property. Okay. Now this becomes z1 into z1 conjugate, so mod z1 square plus z2 into z2 conjugate, so mod z2 square minus z1 z2 conjugate and minus z2 z1 conjugate, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
this is giving you one condition. You can get another condition from this and this, and a third
Yeah.
condition from first and last, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
First and last inequalities, they will give you the third condition.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So now a couple more things. If z is x plus iy, then z conjugate is equal to x minus iy. Therefore,
Yes, sir.
z plus z conjugate by 2 is equal to x is equal to real part of z, right? See, z
Yeah.
plus z conjugate by 2 is equal to x. So real part of z
Yeah.
is basically sometimes written like this. Real of z is equal to uh, z plus z conjugate by 2, right? Similarly, if you have uh, z minus z conjugate, what do you get? You'll get x plus iy minus x plus iy. So 2iy, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So,
So it'll just be IY, right?
huh?
It'll just be IY, right?
2iy, no? When you subtract,
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I thought.
right?
I thought
2iy it will.
try two also.
Huh.
Yeah.
So now what you can say is y is equal to z minus z conjugate by 2i, right?
Yeah.
So this is the imaginary part. Imaginary part of z, correct?
Yeah.
Because y was the component of z, no, in the imaginary direction.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, then let's take a look at now arguments. Arguments of a complex number. Okay. Uh, so the basic meaning of argument is very simple. R E I theta is equal to Z, then theta is the argument.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So if you go anti-clockwise since theta to form your point Z, right?
Yeah.
Then theta is your argument, right?
Yes.
Now notice that you could go around a whole circle and come back here, right?
Yeah.
So if I added a 360 degree or 2 pi, right? You
Yeah.
could Z R theta plus 2 pi is going to be the same thing, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So, okay, theta is the argument. Arguments are measured counterclockwise. Arguments counterclockwise, right? And if you notice, uh, there are multiple arguments possible for any same complex number, no?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Multiple arguments possible, right?
Yeah.
So what we will do is we will restrict ourselves to arguments which satisfy theta is the argument. It should satisfy these conditions. Theta is positive, is less than pi, or right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
This is actually this value of theta. What is the statement saying? It can actually be between 0 to 180, or you can start measuring from this side,
Yeah.
minus something to minus 179, something like that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So there are multiple arguments possible, but what we will call is we'll only take arguments generally in this range. We will always apply this range instead of 2 pi plus that triangle, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So this is called principal value or main value of the argument. Principal value of the argument. Correct. Now, principal value of the argument is the angle in the exponential, which has been modified in such a way that the angle lies between minus pi to pi. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Makes sense. Minus pi to pi. Don't specify it with a bigger angle, is what I'm saying. If you can find a smaller angle which brings it to the same point, right? You
Yes.
can write it as bring it down to the smallest angle so that it lies between minus pi and pi, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes your argument. Now we have some properties of these arguments also. So argument of z1 uh, to the power n is equal to n times argument of z1, right? So why don't you try to prove this one? We also have one more which you should try to prove. Argument of z1 z2 is equal to argument of z1 plus argument of z2. Similarly, argument of z1 by z2 is equal to argument of z1 minus argument of z2 plus 2k pi. I want you to try and convince yourself of all of this is true. There will be a plus minus 2k pi here also. Convince yourself that it works. We'll discuss it shortly. I have to make a call right now. Okay. I'll be back in like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Try to do this. Okay, yeah. So let's discuss this. Uh, let's look at the first one. So argument of z1 power n is same as n times argument of z1. So let's take our z1 as x1 plus I y1. Okay. Now here it is not immediately obvious why. What is the first of all, what is the meaning of argument here? Argument means basically think of this as the angle that this makes, no? The meaning of argument is the angle that this line makes, right? Correct. So this angle will be tan theta 1 will be y1 by x1, right? So the argument theta 1 is equal to tan inverse of y1 by x1, correct? It is not immediately obvious if you write it like this, but if you write it in a polar form, r1 e I theta 1, then theta 1 is the argument, right? Correct?
Yes.
If you write the same complex number in polar form, the angle that comes in the exponent is the argument. So then z1 power n will be simply r1 e I theta 1 power n, right? So it will be r1 power n e I n theta 1, right? So now what angle is coming in the exponent of this? N times theta 1, no? So argument of z1 power n is equal to n times theta 1, which is the same as n times argument of z1. You understand what has happened? Because of polar form, the angle has gotten multiplied. No, you are multiplying many times the same complex number, right? So angles kept getting added. So theta 1 plus theta 2 and also on happened, right? That became n theta 1. So that tells you that obviously argument of z1, z2 will be equal to argument of r1 e I theta 1 into r2 e I theta 2, which will be equal to argument of r1 r2 e I theta 1 plus theta 2, right? So that, what is the angle that is appearing here? Theta 1 plus theta 2, right? So that is theta 1 plus theta 2, which is equal to argument of z1 plus argument of z2. Correct. Similarly, you can also prove that argument of z1 by z2 will be equal to argument of r1 by r2 e power I theta 1 minus theta 2, right? So that is theta 1 minus theta 2, which is equal to argument of z1 minus argument of z2, right? Also here I wrote that plus 2k pi for a reason, because think about a real complex number. For example, let's take a complex number 1 e power I pi by 3, right? That is basically cos pi by 3 plus I sine pi by 3, right? That is half plus I root 3 by 2, right? These are the same complex numbers. So now if my z is equal to 1 e power I pi by 3, what is the argument of z power 4, right? Or z power 4 is, correct. Argument of z power 4 is e power I 4 pi by 3, right? Now technically the answer could be written as 4 pi by 3, right, is the argument. But by convention, the convention is that principal value of the argument, principal value, the main value of the argument is given as an angle that is between 0 to pi, or minus pi is less than theta is less than 0. These are the ways in which the argument is generally specified. So if you notice, this was 60 degree, technically you should go to 240 degree, right? you should come here, right? This is 240 degree, right?
Yes, sir.
And that is 4 pi by 3 should be the answer. But now, usually if you are specifying principal values, you will not say 240 degrees, you will say minus 120 degrees.
Okay.
So instead of writing 4 pi by 3, principal value will be written as minus 2 pi by 3. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Because this is just a convention. You only write between minus pi to pi. The angles that you will write should be between minus pi to pi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
here it is exceeding pi, so I'll put it as minus 2 pi by 3. It's the same, it has to come to the same place, otherwise you are not saying the correct thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Either you go from this side or you go from this side,
Yeah.
right? So that's why if the formula is z argument of z power n is equal to n times argument of z, there is a plus minus 2k pi that is added here to ensure that final answer is not beyond pi. So if the argument of this was say pi by 6 and n was 8, right?
Yeah.
Or n was 10 or something, right? It's not 10 times pi by 6, which will be much bigger than pi, right? So 10 times pi by 6 is actually 5 pi by 3, right?
Yeah.
So 5 pi by 3 is actually 300 degrees, right? So I will not write 300 degrees like this. I'll write minus 60,
Okay, sir. Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
notice that in the quadrant, 300 should come here, right?
Yeah.
So I will say this angle is the argument,
Okay.
not 300 degrees.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So this plus minus 2k pi will be in all the argument formulas because you want to ensure that the final angle that comes out for this, right, is in the principal value. You are adjusting and subtracting with appropriate number of pi's to get it in the principal value.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I understood.
Okay. So basically modulus and argument we have understood. What is the meaning of modulus? It is mod z, which is the distance from z to 0 and also the length of that vector. Argument of z is equal to the angle that appears in the exponent, right? REI theta, it is the theta is the argument, right? And argument values are generally specified between minus theta to less than minus pi to pi, right? And properties of arguments are looking very much like properties of logarithms, right? Notice
Yeah.
notice this
Yeah. Yes, sir.
this is like a log property, right?
Yeah.
And z to the power n is equal to n arg z.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
The reason it is becoming like a log property is because there is an exponential here, no? So exponential e power something and log and all are inverse functions of each other, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it is looking like a log property. Uh, okay, so modulus and argument we have seen. Now let's discuss a little bit of geometry. Geometry using complex numbers. So for geometry, what do we need for geometry basically? To do any geometry, what you need is an understanding of angles, right?
Yeah.
Angles are super important in geometry. Also, distances are important, correct? So in a triangle ABC, you need to know length of the sides or angles of the triangle, right?
Yeah.
All basic geometry depends on distances and depends on angles, right? And then you come to many properties and all, right? So distances we have already figured out how to write using complex numbers. So if someone asks me distance, what is the length of side AB? I will just simply write mod of Z1 minus Z2, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, you should write Z2 minus Z1, but that is the same thing because mod of minus 1 into Z1 minus Z2 and this is one complex number, this is another complex number. So you know the property that mod of z1 z2 is equal to mod of z1 into mod of z2. So -1 can be thought of as another complex number. So mod of -1 mod of z1 minus z2, right? And this is 1, right? So mod of z1 minus z2 is the same as mod of z2 minus z1, right?
Yes, sir.
Basically it is saying that line AB or line BA have the same length, right?
Yeah.
So distances can be written quickly as like this, correct?
Yeah.
But right now we don't know any way to write the angle A or angle B or angle C using complex numbers, right? Right now you don't know a way to write the angles. So that is what we are planning to do now. We will learn how to write angles using complex numbers. Okay. So first thing to know here is any complex number z can be written as z is equal to mod of z e power I argument of z, right? Basically this is just
Yes, sir.
REI theta, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Correct. Any complex number z can be written as mod of z into e power I argument of z, right?
Yeah.
So now if you want to write angles of a triangle, suppose ABC, right? So let's say this is Z1, this is Z2, and this is Z3, right? So now what I want to capture is angle B. I have put an arrow on the angle because I want to go in the always measure angles in the anti-clockwise sense.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Measure angles in anti-clockwise. All the anti-clockwise angles are assumed to be positive. And if by chance your angle is in a clockwise manner like this, then it will be negative of whatever, right? That is called negative angle. Okay.
Yes.
So generally you will be doing anti-clockwise sense. Anti-clockwise is this, right? So right now if you look at anti-clockwise sense, can you tell me what is this complex number and what is this complex number? The line segment, right?
Yeah.
This line segment is what? It is Z1 minus Z2, no?
Yeah. Yes.
And this line segment is Z3 minus Z2.
Yeah.
This minus this.
Yeah. Yes.
And this is Z1 minus Z2. So why don't we think about basically this angle as if your origin was here, right? If your origin was here, correct?
Yeah.
So okay, I will draw a better figure, 1 second. Okay, this is my A, this is my B, and this is my C. This is my C. So this is Z1, this is Z2, and this is Z3. Okay. So if Z2 was 0, right? If Z2 was origin, 0 is a complex number for the origin, no?
Yeah.
0 plus 0i, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Then this line segment would be called Z1 minus 0, right?
Yeah.
And this line segment would be called Z3 minus 0, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Now think about uh, Z3 will make some angle with the x-axis, right? Let's call it theta 3, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And Z1 will make some angle with the y-axis, right? With the x-axis, right?
Yeah.
It makes angle theta 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So the angle B that you want is actually theta 1 minus theta 3, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That is what you want, right?
Yes.
So that is basically equal to what is theta 1? Theta 1 is argument of Z1, no? Theta 1.
Yeah.
Z1 is making theta 1 with the x-axis, no?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And theta 2 is argument of Z, see, theta 3 is argument of Z3,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So basically this is argument of Z1 minus argument of Z3, no?
Yeah.
So that is equal to argument of Z1 by Z3,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So angle B is equal to argument of Z1 minus Z3, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, by the same logic, here I had put this as the origin, right? That's why it was looking very simple, right? Because Z1 minus 0 was same as Z1, no? This is actually argument of Z1 minus 0 by Z3 minus 0, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
But if I don't shift my, if I don't put my B to the origin, all you have to do is think of the anti-clockwise angle, right?
Yeah.
This is my B and this is my A and this is my C and this is Z1 and this is Z3 and this is Z2. Think of the anti-clockwise angle and think of these line segments, right? This line segment will make some line, will make some angle theta 1, no? And this line segment will make an angle theta 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I'll make a bigger figure. So this is my situation. This is Z1, this is Z3, this is Z2. Okay. So extend this, right? And extend this, right?
Yeah.
Correct. This is B, this is A, this is C. So if I extend this, it is not looking very straight, but
Yes, I understand.
yeah. So this line segment is Z2 minus Z3, right?
Yeah.
No, not Z2 minus Z3, Z3 minus Z2.
Yeah.
Z3 minus Z2, and this line segment is Z1 minus Z3, right? So let's say Z3 minus Z2 makes some angle alpha here, right? It's the same straight line. So my figure is wrong, but it's the same straight line, right? It will be somewhere like this, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And this one is like this, and this makes angle beta, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know from the triangle property that exterior angle is equal to sum of interior opposite angles, no?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So this plus this should be equal to beta. So
Yeah.
this angle should be beta minus alpha, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if this is beta minus alpha, vertically opposite angle is beta minus alpha,
Yeah. Yes.
right? So the angle that I need, angle B, is equal to beta minus alpha, where beta is the argument of this line, no? Beta is the angle that AB line made with the positive x-axis, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So argument of Z1 minus Z3 minus argument of alpha is the BC line's angle, that will be equal to Z3 minus Z2. So you get argument of Z1 minus Z2 here, not Z3.
Yeah. Yes.
Z1 minus Z2, no, Z2 by Z3 minus Z2, right?
Yeah.
Notice that in the earlier question, because the triangle was B was at the origin, that's why we didn't have to draw this separate triangle and all. We could directly say that it was Z3 minus Z2, Z3 minus 0 and Z1 minus 0, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. So this is your angle B, right? So notice that we have been able to write angle B, correct?
Yeah.
Now any triangle I will be able to give you how to write angles using complex numbers. So for example here, so this is Z2, this is Z1, this is Z3. I need this angle. I will make an anti-clockwise arrow, right? And angle B will be equal to argument of more anti-clockwise side by less anti-clockwise side, right?
Yeah.
This is the more anti-clockwise side, so that is the bigger angle. So it is Z1 minus Z3, Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2, right? Let's think about angle A. First, draw an anti-clockwise arrow, right? Correct? And more anti-clockwise side is this one, no? And less anti-clockwise side is this one, right? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Hello?
Yeah, sir, I understood. Yeah.
So more anti-clockwise side is this side. So Z3 minus Z1 by less anti-clockwise side is this one. Z2 minus Z1, right? Angle C, first draw an anti-clockwise arrow, right? More anti-clockwise side is this one.
Yeah.
So it is argument of Z2 minus Z3 by less anti-clockwise side. So Z1 minus Z3, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Now it is obvious. Now we will be able to prove that angle A plus angle B plus angle C is equal to 180 degree. So see how, because angle A plus angle B is sum of all the arguments, no?
Yeah.
And we know the property that argument of Z1 plus argument of Z2 plus argument of Z3 is equal to argument of Z1, Z2, Z3.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what is the argument of Z1, Z2, Z3 here? So basically multiply all of them. Correct.
Yes, sir.
Multiply all of them. See, Z3 minus Z2 cancels this one with minus 1. Z2, this one and this one cancel with another minus 1. And this one cancel with another minus 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So everything cancels and becomes minus 1, no?
Yeah.
Now what is the argument of minus 1? Let's think about it. Minus 1 is where on the complex plane? It is here, right?
Yeah.
So it is clearly 180 degree, right?
Yeah.
If it was plus 1, it would have been 0, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So if you had made a mistake in writing the arguments, you could have gotten a plus 1. Then basically you have not labeled the angles correctly.
Yeah.
You understand? The fact that it cancelled nicely and became minus 1 is proving that our method of labeling it is correct. Okay, everything is fitting. A plus B plus C is giving argument 180, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Correct. So now let's think of one more thing. Now that we know how to write angles, now we can think of complex number here. So angle B we know is Z1, this is Z2, and this is Z3. We know angle B is equal to argument of Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2, right? Now, if I try to write, let's think about what is the meaning of the complex number, how to write meaning of complex number Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2, right? Okay, so what we can write is complex number Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2 will be equal to mod of e power I argument of this, which is equal to B, right? Correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Here I am using the fact that any complex number Z can be written as mod of Z e power I arg of Z, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So this complex number can be written as this e power I B, right? Arg of Z is B, right? Now sometimes in questions, if you write this, then you will get some nice results, because it could be said given in the question that the triangle was isosceles and AB was equal to BC. Okay.
Yeah.
If AB was equal to BC, then mod of Z1 minus Z2 was same as mod of Z3 minus Z2. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that whole term would have cancelled out. This could have cancelled out. And you just have a nice relation. Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2 is equal to e power IB. Correct?
Yeah.
Correct. So similarly, you could have another nice relation for this. More anti-clockwise side is this. So suppose it's an equilateral triangle, right? Right. Suppose this is also equal, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So let's think about first think about this complex number. So argument angle C will be what? Angle C will be argument of Z2 minus Z3 is more anti-clockwise side, and Z1 minus Z3 is less anti-clockwise side, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
So we can write complex number Z2 minus Z3 by Z1 minus Z3 is equal to mod of that. Mod of that is 1 because mod of this by mod of this is 1, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
E power I into C, right? But in equilateral triangle, angle B is equal to angle C is equal to 60 degree, right?
Yeah.
So this has to be equal to this, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So we have the condition that this is equal to this, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we can write Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2 is equal to Z2 minus Z3 by Z1 minus Z3, right?
Yeah.
So let's simplify it a little bit, multiply it there. Z1 square minus Z1 Z2 minus Z3 Z1 minus Z2 Z3 is equal to, this is just negative and negative square, perfect square, right? So minus Z2 square plus Z3 square minus 2Z2 Z3, right? So that is equal to minus Z2 square minus Z3 square plus 2Z2 Z3, right? Right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So what we get is, let's bring all these two terms on that side. So we get Z1 square plus Z2 square plus Z3 square is equal to these three terms on this side, right? So this becomes Z1 Z2 Z3 Z1 Z1 Z2 plus Z3 Z1 and plus Z2 Z3, and this is a, okay, I have made a sign mistake somewhere. Oh wait, sign mistake here. See, this is plus Z2 Z3 here, no?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Right? This is a plus, not a minus.
Yeah.
So when it goes that side, it becomes negative plus 2 minus 1. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a condition that we have now gotten, which will ensure that Z1, Z2, Z3 are the vertices of an equilateral triangle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question sometimes. Sometimes it is asked as proof. Say, I have three complex numbers Z1, Z2, and Z3. Prove that Z1 square plus Z2 square plus Z3 square is equal to Z1, Z2 plus Z2, Z3 plus Z3, Z1 implies, it's a double implication, the triangle ABC is equilateral.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did we do it? We did it by, if it is equilateral, right? This angle is 60, this angle is 60, this side is equal to this side is equal to this side, right?
Yeah.
And we wrote that Z1 minus Z2 by Z3 minus Z2 is equal to e power I 60 is equal to this angle we wrote, anti-clockwise sense. If you make a mistake in anti-clockwise sense, it will be wrong, okay? So
Yeah.
anti-clockwise sense, so this will be Z2 minus Z3 by Z1 minus Z3, right? And then both are same, so just multiply it out and you will get to prove this, right?
Okay.
The questions are super in questions it is a super useful condition for equilateral triangle, because sometimes they can give you one vertex, right? 1 plus I and 3 plus 2I, right? Find the third vertex, right?
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
You could find the third vertex if you know this condition,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because you can fit the values of Z1 and Z2 here and find Z3, no?
Yeah.
Right? So it's a nice result. So what we have learned basically is how to write angles. How to write angles using complex numbers. So we can get many conditions now using this. So for example, we already saw that the sum of angles of a triangle was equal to 180, right? Correct. Now we can see things like this, for example. Okay, so this is a quadrilateral that is inscribed in a circle, right? It's a cyclic quadrilateral ABCD, right?
Yeah.
Now find the condition that ABCD is cyclic. Basically, condition on Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4, right?
Yeah.
Like for what complex number Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 will ABCD be a cyclic quadrilateral, right? Now how do we do it? Now we know one thing, that cyclic quadrilateral sum of opposite angles is
180.
180 degree, right? So let's write two angles and say that sum of them is 180 degrees, right?
Yeah.
So any two angles you can pick. I will pick this one anti-clockwise direction and this one anti-clockwise direction, right?
Yeah.
So this angle, how will I write? I will write angle A is equal to argument of Z2 minus Z1 more anti-clockwise side by Z4 minus Z1, right?
Yeah.
You are understanding how to write angles, no?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Angle C will be equal to argument of more anti-clockwise side, so Z4 minus Z3 by Z2 minus Z3, right? And angle A plus angle C should be equal to 180 degree. So we should have argument of Z2 minus Z1 by Z4 minus Z1. And when you add the arguments, you can multiply the stuff, right?
Yeah.
By this should be equal to 180 degree, right? Correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Now this means that this complex number, right? This complex number is purely real, no?
Yeah.
You can say this because argument is 180, then it has to lie on the x-axis, no?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
This big complex number can be thought of as Z, right? Capital Z.
Yeah.
And you're saying argument of Z is 180 degree.
Yeah.
That means Z is completely on the x-axis on the negative side, right?
Yeah.
So you can say multiple things. The same condition you can say in multiple ways. You can say this whole expression Z, right? Z is a negative real number, you can say.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can also say that Z conjugate plus, oh, wait one sec. You can say that imaginary part of Z is 0, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can also say that Z minus Z conjugate is 0, which is the same as imaginary part of Z is 0,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Or you can say it better like Z is equal to Z conjugate, because it is purely real, no?
Yeah. Yes.
Its reflection will be itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So same thing you can write in many ways, or you can say argument is 180, right? Correct.
Yeah. I understood.
So what we have learned so far is properties of modulus, argument, and geometry. Geometry by thinking of angles and thinking of sides. Sides, you know, is mod z1 minus mod z2. Angles are argument of z1 minus z2 by z3 minus z2, something like this, right? So what is left is nth roots of unity. That is left. I don't want to start it now because it's a little long. What you should do is, we have already covered a lot. I don't think these has been discussed in class and all. No?
No, so we've done modulus and argument a bit, but we haven't done geometry.
Okay, so your book, you have the competition section and all, everything is there, no, for you?
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
You have the book with you, no?
Yeah, sir. I have a few questions from that.
So you can ask.
Yeah. So one second. Yeah, so there's some questions related to unity.
Tell me.
So we'll do that when we discuss unity. So
Other than that, any other normal complex number doubts?
Yeah, so if n is a multiple of 3, then omega to the power n plus omega to the power 2n is equal to, so I'll just send it.
Okay, that is also a cube root of unity.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Like this cube roots and nth roots of unity, I want to do in a separate class because it's a slightly long topic, and already I think I taught too much theory today. So
Yeah.
nth roots of unity will do properly. This omega square is same thing. So, but other than that, any other modulus argument, any questions that you're stuck on, anything else?
Yeah, so just 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are these questions like the mod amplitude form of minus root 3 minus I is.
So mod amplitude form means Euler form.
Okay, yes, sir. Yeah.
This amplitude, if they are using, no, that means argument only.
Okay, yeah.
Argument is amplitude. So Euler form. So first, how do you convert it to Euler form? You first put it on the x and y coordinates. Okay. So
Yeah.
where is it? It is looking like minus root 3 and minus 1, right here.
Yeah.
Minus root 3 here and minus 1 here, right?
Yeah.
This is the point. So your complex number is this, origin to this vector. So clearly mod is very easy to find, no, distance to the origin.
Yeah, it's 2.
2, but angle is coming bigger than 180, right?
Yeah, so just 2 pi minus.
Don't remember any formulas, but just this, right?
Yeah.
So what is this angle? You have to first decide. So how much is this angle? This is root 3. This is root 3 and this is, no, this is 1 and this is root 3, right?
Yeah.
So tan of theta, this theta, right,
Yeah.
will be 1 by root 3, right?
Yeah.
So this is 30 degree.
Yeah.
So this extra angle is 30, so it should be 150 like this.
Yeah.
So it will be 2 e power I minus 5 pi by 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
Don't try to remember any formula here, otherwise everything will be confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think of it by the figure. So give one or two other examples. Any other one?
Uh,
If you have doubts, if you have something.
Mod amplitude form of 1 plus I tan theta.
1 plus I tan theta, z is equal to this. Okay, so now here, so now this depends on the sign of tan theta, right?
Yeah.
Because notice that tan theta is positive in first quadrant and third quadrant, right?
Yeah.
And negative in this quadrant, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So first we will find the mod of this. Okay, mod of z will be simply root over 1 plus tan square theta, right?
Yeah.
So that is root over sec square theta, and root over x square can be written as mod sec theta. Root over x square is always written as mod x.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so mod of sec theta is the r, and if you want to find the amplitude or argument, argument is equal to, argument of z will be equal to tan inverse y by x, right?
Yeah.
If z was x plus iy, this would have been tan inverse y by x, right?
Yeah.
So tan inverse of tan theta by 1, right?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So which is equal to theta if tan theta is positive, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be a little careful here. So actually you can write r as mod sec theta e power I theta, but you have to be careful which quadrant you're talking about, right? So cos is positive in first quadrant, right?
Yeah.
First quadrant and fourth quadrant. So if theta is between 0 to pi by 2, right? If theta is between 0 to pi by 2, then the complex number, this is positive. So then complex number z is equal to sec theta e power I theta, right?
Yeah.
If theta is between pi by 2 to 90, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Pi by 2 to pi, right? Correct? Then sec theta is negative, but modulus cannot be negative. So that's why I had written mod sec theta. So you have to write here as z is equal to minus sec theta, right?
Yeah.
Because minus sec theta will be positive. And what will you do about the e power I thing? That uh, tan inverse of tan theta. Tan inverse of tan theta. Now theta is negative, right? Theta is above 180. So this will be minus theta, right? Tan inverse of some negative tan, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that should be minus tan theta. No, that should be theta only. No, whatever the angle is, that doesn't matter because it is still in the principal value range, right?
Yeah.
Um, if it was some 120 degrees, then this part would have been negative, right? Then it is coming in the first 1 plus I into minus 1 by root 3. So it is fourth quadrant it is coming. So minus theta seems right. Yeah, minus theta is right. Correct. Yeah. Minus theta is correct. And because the complex number itself came in the fourth quadrant, no?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
No, are you understanding? See what is happening. See, if theta is equal to 120 degree, right?
Yeah.
Right? So what is the z? Z is equal to 1 plus I into tan 120 degree is minus root 3, right?
Uh,
Correct.
yes, sir.
180 minus 60, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So notice now that real part is +1 and complex part is minus root 3, right? So it is fourth quadrant Z, no?
Yeah.
Right? Fourth quadrant Z is coming.
Yeah.
So R part is sorted, minus sec theta is fine, right?
Yeah.
The real part is sorted, there is no problem. See, cos theta is equal to half, right? Cos 60 is half, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So cos 120 is half, right? So sec 120 is 2, right? But in this case it is minus half, so minus 2. Sec 120 is minus 2.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So minus sec theta is coming as 2, no?
Yeah.
And what is the angle that I would have written? Angle I would have written is, this is angle that I should write here is
Minus 60.
minus 60, right?
Yeah.
Minus 60 I should write. And the angle that I'm getting from the theta, right? From the theta, what I'm getting is 120 degrees, right?
Yeah.
So 120 degree, I have to put a minus sign, but I have to do theta minus pi, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Minus I, theta minus pi I should write, right?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
This is the mod amplitude form. If your angle, if only if theta was between pi by 2 to pi, right? Makes sense. In different places it will be different, right? If it was between 0 to 90, there was no problem.
Yeah.
If it was from 90 to 180, there is a slight problem, so you have to be careful.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
If it was above 180, then again think about what happens if it was theta was between 90 to 180, right? So
Yeah.
then tan becomes again negative. Again, it is coming fourth quadrant, right?
Yeah.
The complex number is again coming fourth quadrant. So this angle will be correct. This will be correct only. And if it was fourth quadrant, right? Theta was above. No. In this one, it comes as first quadrant. No? Tan theta is positive in this region.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Third quadrant, tan is positive. No, so in the third quadrant, answer is this only.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
And in the fourth quadrant, angle will be again similar to something like this.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So this is slightly trickier because you have to keep in mind two things. Your R should be always positive. Always. And your final theta should be between minus pi to pi. The argument that you write. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that that happens. And if I'm given the value of z is equal to x plus iy, then argument generally can be calculated, at least the magnitude of the argument can be calculated by tan theta is y by x. Right?
Yeah.
The magnitude, you have to worry about the sign and everything. Sign and everything can be decided based on the quadrant that the complex number is in.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So try a few more questions. We'll continue from here, and what we will do is nth roots of unity mostly in the next class, and we'll try and finish it off. We'll finish off the chapter by next class for sure.
Yeah. So
So
what is locus?
locus is a equation that is followed by a moving particle, that is followed by a moving point. Basically, it's the path followed by a point. So what, for example, if a body was moving along this curve, right?
Yeah.
Correct? Like this.
Yeah.
And the locus of the particle would be the equation of this curve.
Okay, sir.
Basically, its x and y will always fit this equation. No?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is the locus of that point. So if a body was moving on a circle, right?
Yeah.
Then its x and y for that moving body would always fit the equation x square plus y square is equal to say a square, right?
Yeah.
So that is the locus of that point, right? So some condition will be given to you and you will be asked to find the locus, right? So basically what you have to do is to take a variable point which is moving along that condition, right? Along that path, right?
Yeah.
And get that variable point x comma y. You have to get a relationship between x and y so that it always moves on that path, or that condition it always satisfies.
Okay, so yeah.
So if you get that relation is basically describing the path of the particle.
Okay, so
So
yeah.
think of the figure here where you are moving a ball on this bowl, right? And if it is a parabolic ball, the ball's x and y coordinate will always fit the equation y is equal to x square.
Okay,
So y is equal to x square will be called the locus of this ball.
okay, yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So if the locus is a straight line, that means it moves along some line like this. Here x and y are the points coordinates. If the locus is a curve, it could be anything. Y square is equal to 4x or whatever. Circle or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
So do as much as you can in complex numbers from your booklet so that you have doubts and problems and we can fix all of that. Okay. And we'll finish the chapter in the next class.
Yeah.
Okay.
So will you send me the motion sheet for this?
Yeah, I can. I will send it to you. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Bye.